Chainswords. From the scrap metal madness pieced together by the barbaric orc warriors to the sacred designs churned out by Adeptus Mechanicus manufacturers, the galaxy is no stranger to the throaty growl of revving chainswords. To my mind, the most iconic weapon in 40k is the chainsword. I've seen it in other areas, most notably in the video game Gears of War series. But this weapon is very 40k, a mixture of the warfare of the setting and that over-the-topness that colours much of it, especially in those earlier days. Thinking about it brought questions to my mind. Who made it? The Imperium or the Xenos? Why is it so effective against so many opponents? What are the variances in it across the many races within 40k? That's what I want to explore in today's video. So, friends, let's find out. And welcome to another 40k video, drawing heavily on Chainsword Munitorum. And to make you aware, this is written from an in-universe perspective. Chainswords, and this is an understatement, are not subtle weapons. Wielding one is a statement in its own right. They are horrific tools of war, designed to bite, tear and eviscerate, where most primitive blades merely cut and slice, and stab. I would add to that. A chainsword brings the weight of intimidation with its obvious effectiveness, and it promises pain before death. On worlds claimed by humanity, these blades are items of status for criminals and high-ranking gang fighters, as well as weapons of lethal and crowd-pleasing necessity for indentured gladiators. Among mankind's endless armies, the ubiquitous chainsword has found a home in the arsenal of many Imperial Guard officers, as well as serving as a weapon of choice for countless warriors among the Adeptus Astartes, since the ancient era of the Space Marine legions during the Emperor's Great Crusade. In alien hands, chain blades take more exotic forms. Despite obeying the same function, an orcish chain chopper will have none of an elder chain saber's bone-sung elegance, and little of the reliability of a Space Marine's mass-produced weapon, but it will carve flesh and shed blood with the same eagerness. Like many examples of human invention, the chainsword's many variants seem to have roots in the shrouded heresies, and I love this period, of the, yes that's right, dark age of technology. Accordingly, it saw consistent use in the armoured fists of techno-barbarians during the Age of Strife and among the Emperor's own armies during his Thunder Warriors' brutal conquest of Terra. But chainswords have been wielded by inhuman hands for eons. Several Xenos races have borne such blades into battle, even in the ages where mankind could only look up to the stars with spears in their filthy hands. Tech priest foundry masters have speculated down the centuries that it is simply a natural evolution of the sword's design, from bronze to iron, from iron to steel, from steel to chain teeth, and from chain teeth to a weapon wreathed in an energy field such as the Imperial Power Sword. But doubt remains, more than one Martian Magos has devoted their life's work to researching the primeval origins of the chain weapons, most likely as an inspiration stolen from an alien race in a war that may never be remembered. But if this theorem ever bears fruit, it is distinctly possible that the galaxy's first wielders of chainswords were jade-clad warriors of the ancient Aeldari. As befitting the galaxy's most common type of chain weapon, chainswords come in hundreds upon hundreds of styles, patterns and local variants. Two-handed blades are often referred to as eviscerators, but these immense machines come in almost as many variants as their common counterparts. Every Space Marine chapter will forge its own blades with subtle differences to those of its brethren, just as every forged world produces its tried and tested signature weapons based on its preferred schematics. The most common template for any Imperial chainsword is the Mark XF Hell's Teeth pattern, with thousands of minor variations seeing use throughout mankind's endless armies. Chapters such as the Flesh Tearers, the Marines Errant, the Minotaurs, and the Blood Eagles have no secret. though they have their own named pattern chain blades, usually divergent in matters of decoration and reverence. Unsurprisingly, one of the most dramatic Imperial variants is also found amongst the Astartes, the so-called Kraken Tooth, frost blade of the space wolves, with its chain teeth supposedly formed from the fangs of sea monsters, blighting the oceans of their world. Now, someone who's mixed a little bit with reenactors, I know that a blade is not just something you attack with, it's also something that has the requirements of maintenance and care about it. So, with chain blades, despite their relative ease of manufacture, few weapons require as much maintenance as the Imperial Chainsword. Fortunately, the maintenance is of a mundane nature, easily performed by any ganger or warrior, rather than something like plasma technology, which inevitably requires the sacred insight of a tech priest in order to keep it functioning over time. Replacement teeth tracks are found in vast crates alongside lasgun power packs in every Imperial Guard drop zone, as well as being stored aboard every Space Marine Thunderhawk gunship. The first concern is that even the most well-forged chainsword will blunt quickly against heavy armour, especially the dense, ablative layers bolted onto an Orcish warlord, or the tainted ceramite of a traitor marine. Chainswords lack the heavy-cutting weight of chain axes and the bulkier ilk, and are better served to cleaving through the joints of heavy suits of armour. Secondly, chainswords are thirsty weapons. Some variants are much more efficient in terms of fuel consumption, but those that aren't powered by self-sustaining energy generators drink Promethean fuel no differently to countless other low-tech Imperial machines, and emit the same crude, oily reeks as any tank's engine. The final concern is one of skill. Chainswords can throw teeth when they're used in poorly executed parries, slapped blade to blade with other chain weapons, or simply wielded with all the precision of a club. And it's the same with the sword. If it's sharp and both edges of the sword are clashing against each other, that's going to blunt the weapon. While teeth are easily replaced and repaired, it is not uncommon for battles between chainsword duelists to end with both victors and the losers' blades missing crucial teeth, especially if the fighters wore heavy armour. Awkward weapons, especially those with chain teeth made from the alien ivory of an ancient orc's own sharpened fangs, are especially vulnerable to this kind of degradation. Anyone with a modicum of experience wielding one of these weapons knows to parry with the reinforced flat of the blade, and again, that's true with the real sword, rather than catching a blow on the toothed moving edge. These issues of durability rarely apply off the battlefield. A hive ganger or sump waste outlaw can own a chainsword his entire life without suffering the same annoyances as an assault marine of the Astartes, because like any weapon, a chainsword uses depend on context. When used as intended against lightly armoured foes, a chainsword is lethality incarnate. No other blade in existence cuts flesh with the same viciousness, ravening hunger as a chainsword. A fighter's strength will add to the blow's devastating effect. But where other melee weapons merely rely on strength, a chainsword makes for a perfect dueling weapon, just as effective when wielded with grace and speed over brawn. Once the teeth even graze flesh, their motorized bite hooks deeper and saws through muscle, sinew and bone with the same surgical ease. Just as nothing cuts meat and bone like a chainsword, nothing bleeds like a chainsword wound. Enemies lose arms and legs to these weapons, and this practice is commonly known as limbing by Imperial veterans with unpleasant smiles. And those who lose limbs in such fashion can look forward to one of the bloodiest battlefield deaths imaginable, as their life pours out through the uncauterized, mangled stump of flesh that remains in place of a cherished limb. And that brings us to the end of the video. So now, friends, I turn things over to you. What do you think to the variances across the various races that use them? To my mind, it was mainly an Imperial weapon. I didn't know that. Which origin do you prefer? Or do you have your own ideas where it might have come from? Comment down below.